My name is Dan Klopp, and I'm joined, of course, by Neil Jones on what is Transfer Deadline Day Eve. How are you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, good, yeah. Not quite as excited as I have on Christmas Eve, but similar.
Similar levels of excitement, yeah, I can well imagine. And there's reason to be excited, of course, if you're Red these days, because since we last spoke, I think things have moved along a little bit of a pace. We spoke about the opportunity to sign Ryan Gravenberch. If it presented itself, Liverpool will be all over it. And it looks as though that may well be the case. There's been different reports on this one. I think David Ornstein was on the first to speak about it yesterday. And since that, there's been Christian Falk from Germany and other people speculating on the price, sort of the personal terms and that type of thing. But I think what we do know, Neil, you feel free to elaborate on this, is it's going to be, if it happens, a permanent deal. Because I think there was some suggestion the other day of people saying, no, we might just loan Ryan Gravenberch. I don't think that's going to happen. Looks like a permanent deal. The player seems to be on board.
Yeah.
Liverpool and Bayern now, it's just up to them to thrash it out, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that has pretty much been the case the whole summer. And what's changed, really, is that Liverpool hadn't had a lot of encouragement from Bayern, that they were willing to get involved in a negotiation over Gravenberch. They were keen to keep him. That's changed, as far as I'm aware, over the last week, or especially this week. They're obviously kind of looking at getting in João Palhinha, it looks like, doesn't it, from Fulham, so that they're looking to bring in a big money midfielder, and that means Gravenberch's prospects are even less promising than they've been. So yeah, there's a real chance now for Liverpool to get this deal done. You don't want to sort of say it, do you? You know, you don't want to say, yeah, this will get done. But there's a real chance. There's now a will on pretty much all parts, really, for something to get done. I think it'll depend. I mean, it doesn't, like I say, I mean, I think you're looking at the top end fee would probably be less than £40 million. It doesn't feel like that's a huge sort of, problem for Liverpool. It doesn't feel like it's sort of completely out of their hitting zone. No. Bayern would be doubling the money if they were to get something like that. I think they're probably going to get less than that. So it does feel like a deal that's got a pretty good chance of getting done. I think the player's driven a fair bit of it as well. I think he's made it very clear that he's not having another year like last season where he's starting the odd game. I mean, I spoke to an old colleague actually about Gravenberch, and he was sort of, I think, we sound like we're not the sporting director, but when you're doing your due diligence about a player, you sort of say, well, why hasn't it worked out? Because, it doesn't, Bayern, I think that would be the red flag that you would look at if you were a Liverpool fan who was a pessimist. You'd look and say, well, why hasn't he worked out? Because Bayern have not been amazing while he's been there. He's been fit for the most part. Why has he not played? And two managers as well, Julian Nagelsmann and Thomas Tuchel have both not picked him. And he said it's just as simple as Bayern see him as competing with Jamal Musiala and Thomas Muller for the position. They don't see him as being competing with necessarily Joshua Kimmich and Leon Goretzka. Since then, Konrad Laimer. But it does feel a little bit like there must be a little bit more to it. There must be a sort of, a personality clash or a question mark around his training or how much he puts in. You just feel like there must be something in there. But I think what is important to say is that at 2021, Liverpool's seen it with Fabio Carvalho, for example, last season. You can be a really talented player and just not fit for the team, in the way that the team plays. So I wouldn't be too worried about him not having played for Bayern. The worry I would have around it is how long will it take him to just get used to that rhythm of playing regularly. I think in terms of his talent, and I saw Josh Williams' segment on him. I think he's spot on. His potential is very, very high. You look at the attributes that he's got. Limited clips if you like from the last 12 months, but he carries the ball, doesn't he? He's got a lovely first touch. He can go past players. He's got he reminds me a bit of Curtis Jones in that respect, but he's probably got a bit more range in his passing. He's obviously played in the Champions League. He's played in the Bundesliga, the Eredivisie, so he's got good experience. I think it's a deal. I've regular viewers will know I've been quite positive about Gravenberch even earlier in the summer, and I just think it's a deal that makes a lot of sense for Liverpool. I really do, and hopefully it gets done. It'll add definitely to Liverpool's squad, and their ability to change the team without sort of necessarily leaving gaps, or to bring, have an extra player to bring off the bench, whether it's him, whether it's, you can leave out McAllister in the odd game, or sub Oslai, or you could play all three. I just think Liverpool will look a lot stronger having a player like him, and not just in the short term, but you think in a year's time you've got Szoboszlai and him, 22, 21. Sorry, 22, 21 at the moment. But McAllister will be 25, this time next year. You've got Curtis Jones, 20. There's a lot of young talent in that midfield, isn't there? And maybe not all of them will go right to the ceiling of their talent, but if three of them do, Liverpool have got a real good, real good potential in that middle of the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we touched on sort of him fitting the profile the other week, and he does seem to fall right into Liverpool's wheelhouse when it comes to, like you said there, in terms of his age and stuff like that. And I think you're absolutely spot on. I think it's important to remember that, like I touched on it the other day, Liverpool wanted this lad before he made the move to Bayern Munich. There was sort of admiration there at the bare minimum, and having missed out on him that time around, Klopp will be delighted to get him in this time. I'm absolutely certain of it. But just in terms of his fit, I've seen a lot of people sort of question this, and I actually took to my own Twitter, which is very rare of me, given the fact I run the Redmen one yesterday. But I said there's a lot of sort of negativity around the Gravenberch deal. I think it's born out of the fact that he isn't an out-and-out six. He's played like 30-odd games as a six in his career, and people clearly still see it that Endo is okay. I think people would rather Endo as a squad player because of the price tag, maybe because of the age, whatever it is, or the fact that he's played for Stuttgart and like teams in Japan and people don't really rate him that highly or whatever. But I suppose Gravenberch, he fits that bill of multifunctional which we've been talking about for a few weeks. Like I say, he's big, he's physical, he has got ability, there's no two ways about it. So I suppose on him, how do you see him fitting in? And also, with Endo, I've put it in the agenda there, do you see this as being yet another show of faith in what he's going to bring?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, if you think back to when Liverpool were looking for a number six, when it was the sort of, panic stations really around they need to get someone in to replace Fabinho. There was obviously that talk. I think Melissa Reddy was the one who wrote it. Said they want two. They want a destroyer and a progressor. I think.
Yeah, that's right. I think it was
two terms. So whether you like the players or not, that's probably what they've got, isn't it? In this, I think it is a show of faith. I mean, Jürgen and the way that he's spoken about Endo. And of course he's got to, because it's a signing that comes in, and he's well aware of the perception around the signing. But the way he's spoken about it was very clear that, look, this isn't just a sort of a, we've landed on someone on the last second of the window. I mean, he was signed with a few weeks left, wasn't he? So they could, in theory, have carried on looking for one until now. So he's very clear that, look, he's going to play games. He's already started, a big game, come on at a key time in another game. So there's already been a clear, clear signs that he's more than just a sort of a emergency stopgap.
Yeah.
I think what's also been clear since Endo signed, and I know it's only one game, but it's shown that it's not just having a number six, it's having skill sets and ability, togetherness of the team. That's what's going to fix Liverpool's midfield problems. It isn't necessarily just you can't just plonk Casemiro in there. I mean, he will make you better because he's a great player, but it also, you have to have everything around it as well. And I think in Gravenberch's case in particular, he's another player who can run. He's another player who's strong enough to cope in one-on-one duels. He's got good size about him. I don't actually know what he's like in the air as a aerial duels, but he's got a good size about him. So you'd think he should be able to handle himself in that situation, and he can handle the ball. You can see him. And you look. I think the difference that you've seen Szoboszlai and McAllister make is that Liverpool can play those passes into midfield or through midfield with a lot more confidence. You look at where the goal comes from at Chelsea, comes from, a defender playing a ball into midfield, back in, and then Liverpool are out. They didn't really play that way, did they? There was a lot more sort of patient build up and get it out wide and sort of, try and gradually work into the final third. I think Liverpool have got a little bit more ability to really move the ball through the thirds quickly and accurately, and Gravenberch's another player that can do that. So I think if you've got good footballers who can run, you can almost put three of them in that midfield. I think, you could put McAllister, Gravenberch, Szoboszlai in certain games. You could put Curtis Jones in there in certain games. I mean, Harvey Elliott's made a good, like we say, on Tuesday, made a really good impact in his games. Having a few more of them means that maybe we're not necessarily looking at a number 6 and then two number 8s. You may be just looking at 3 midfielders who play in there, and obviously they'll all naturally revert towards their strengths. And Szoboszlai does appear to be that he drifts across to the right. McAllister seems to like to play from the left and get on the ball in those half spaces, if you like. So there will be elements of sort of familiarity, but I think there's also a little bit of versatility around there that Liverpool can do different things. And don't forget, they've still got Stefan Bajcetic. Yeah. For now they've still got Thiago. I think that might be one that is, some people might be looking at that and saying, okay, well, is that the potential? Is there a potential for Thiago maybe to leave?
For now?
Possibly, you look at, that's another player that's taken up a position at Thiago would play, isn't it? If Gravenberch comes in, it's another obviously non-homegrown player. If Liverpool wanted to do something in January, then they're penned in a little bit, or maybe they're just looking and saying, well, he'll be gone in a year's time anyway. So, I think it's fair to ask the question around him. I haven't heard anything that he wants to leave or that there's an offer for him to leave, but he has been linked obviously quite strongly with Saudi in the past. I think who hasn't?
Especially if you play for Liverpool, if you ever put a Liverpool shirt on.
It's crazy. It does feel a little bit targeted, doesn't it? When you're seeing Kanate, Gomez, Diaz, Alisson, Salah, obviously. I suppose maybe it says a couple of things. Maybe it says people think you can get players out of Liverpool, but it also means that people think Liverpool have got good players as well, doesn't it? So, but yeah, I think in Gravenberch's case, look, let's see if it gets done. But I don't think I don't have a real negative view on the transfer at all. I think it's Liverpool again. I mean, if you think about what people have been crying out for, midfield overhaul, 4 midfielders that would be coming in, wouldn't it? And okay, yeah, you might say that not the 4 greatest midfielders that you were all hoping for. It wasn't the one everyone was hoping for, but that's a fair old rebuild, isn't it? And with the exception of Endo, it's 3 players of huge potential and huge quality at this stage as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm over the moon with it, to be honest. If it gets done, I think it'll be a really smart piece of business. And like you touched on there, I think sort of future-proofing ourselves against Thiago, it adds that squad depth, is that versatility that you mentioned as well. And I think it will be a case of horses for courses in some games, because sometimes you will want your Endo in there, your destroying type. But in other games, maybe not necessarily at home against Aston Villa, because of how good Aston Villa are now. But there will be certain games, particularly at Anfield, whereby you think you can just go Gravenberch, McAllister, and Szoboszlai, obviously. Just to finish on Gravenberch, I put it on the bottom of the agenda there in terms of him. Should indeed this one get done, I just think this would be the type of deal that Klopp will be absolutely over the moon with, like I say, especially given the fact that we have admired from afar for some time now. I think he will be all of a sudden just joyous with his midfield options.
Yeah, well, you know what he likes quality, but he likes potential, doesn't he? And he likes players who, he would expect to get better quickly
and he'll improve
under him.
As well.
You would think so. You mean, and also there's another Dutch connection, isn't there? With obviously with Gakpo, with Virgil, with Pep Linders, obviously. I would be amazed if there haven't been advice sought from those sources in terms of his character. He's one that he likes stories, doesn't he, Jürgen? He's spoken a lot about players and sort of setbacks, framing them. You look at McAllister being an example. He obviously had to go back to Argentina and sort of earn his corn. You look at Salah, you look at Robertson, Gini Wijnaldum was relegated. Even Van Dijk, who was a late bloomer. He Sadio. He likes that story as well. That he didn't sign someone once and came back for them. I could imagine him speaking very highly about Gravenberch and sort of look, he's missed out on the World Cup last year because he probably made the wrong move. That's how it's turned out for him. He went to Bayern Munich. If he'd have stayed at Ajax or he'd have gone somewhere else and played, he'd have been in that Dutch squad for the World Cup, wouldn't he? So I think having that knowledge that someone can handle a setback, but also that potentially that extra bit of hunger that's in them, that they've been disappointed in the past and they've got something to prove, and they've maybe look, from Gravenberch's point of view, probably not at 21, but you could ask the question, is this his sort of, he's running out of chances at that level, isn't he? If you make 2 moves and they don't work out, where are you going to go from there? You're not going to be playing many Champions League games, so I think he'd quite relish that. And like you say, the potential that he's got, it's not a case of he needs to grow or he needs to sort of he's completely raw. He's a very, very accomplished player, isn't he? You know, and he's physically really sort of at a level where he can cope in the top leagues and the top games. So I think there's a lot to work with for him. And it just means that Liverpool's age profile of the squad, we looked at it last season at times, didn't we? And we looked at, you know, Milner, Firmino, Henderson, Fabinho, Van Dijk, Matip. You know, it was suddenly looking like an old team, wasn't it? Now, you theoretically, your team could have Trent, Konate, Gravenberch, McAllister, Szoboszlai, Gakpo, Diaz, Darwin. Yeah, it's all of a sudden it's a young side, isn't it? You know, or it's a side that's really sort of going that way rather than that way. So I think it's it's still got to get done. That's the important thing to stress in this, you know. And you know, when you put the headline out after this, we'll make that make that clear. It's not yet a done deal, but obviously time's ticking, and I think it's moving in the right direction, certainly.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed that section of my conversation with the brilliant Neil Jones. If you want to watch or listen to that show in full, head to redmenplus.com now. Sign up as a captain or a legend, where you'll get the rest of that, plus all the other amazing content that we do here at the Redmen TV, covering the Ryan Gravenberch transfer and everything else beyond. Take it easy.
Thank you so much for watching. The new season is here. Come and join us over on redmenplus.com for fantastic shows, pre and post-match content, journalistic insights into all Liverpool's transfer business, documentaries, interviews, features and more. Head to redmenplus.com, sign up today and fill your boots with Boss Liverpool content.